Hello, everyone. Derek Floyd here, Beautiful Now Podcast. Welcome to another edition of Beautiful Now Live. Now, this is the segment where I interview special guests about things that are topical, relevant, and that matter to you, your family, and your community, in your daily life. And if you enjoy that type of content, do me a favor. Hit me with a like or subscribe to the channel. This lets me get the most updated content to you as soon as it's available. And as always, hit the little bell as well. That lets me get that content to you right away when it drops. Now, today's topic is going to be rather interesting because it's something that affects all of us. And that's about these things right here, these cell phones, and how glued we are to them every day. We wouldn't leave our house without that. We might miss the keys or misplace the wallet, but we'll never leave the house without that cell phone. And what's more important is that we're glued to the social media apps that have drawn us in on these devices. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, you name it, they're all pulling us in all day long. And our topic today is, how is social media truly affecting us? Is it affecting with our minds, our spirits, our friendships, relationships, our work habits? Is social media a positive or negative? And I've got two special guests today that are going to help me dissect that very topic. The first one is a Grammy Award-winning music producer who's worked with the likes of Jay-Z and Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube, you name it, he's been there. And he's also parlayed his music passion and technology into building a YouTube brand that's always got YouTube influencers all the time, building more and more followers every day. And he teaches at Morehouse College in Atlanta. My other special guest is also a music producer, singer, songwriter who parlayed his music passion into, again, another YouTube influencer who has a great following, over thousands of followers on his site. And he's talked about things with companies like Ecamm Live and TubeBuddy. So both of these individuals have been working with the social media platforms for a long time, and they understand how it works. But today we're going to break down, is there positive or negative? These two gentlemen will help me do this in more of a town hall style, where we'll kind of dialogue together and figure it out to find, is there actually a good or bad? So today, take a step back, relax, enjoy the dialogue with my two great friends, Mr. Alicio Way and Henny the Business. Gentlemen, are you there for me today?
Yo,
Hey,
what's
going
up?
on, D?
Oh, man. Can I say it's good to see three brothers up on the screen? Can I say that?
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Absolutely.
sir.
Sir.
It's a beautiful thing, man. Black creators rising up. Let's do this, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So, man, as I opened up the story here, we've been talking about how social media has just changed the game, man. And I got a few facts I want to read to y'all and see what y'all think about this because we're going to make this kind of a town hall vibe. Y'all okay with that?
Yeah, let's roll.
Okay.
Let's roll. Okay, so says 66% of Americans check their phones 160 times a day. Come on, man. Average person spends 2 hours and 24 minutes on their phone a day. Now, this is real. These are real facts. Facebook
Yeah.
has 2 billion users. 2 billion, y'all. Twitter, 187 million. TikTok, 689 million. Instagram, 964 million. And of course, where we are, YouTube platform, 37 million, uploading 500 hours of video per minute. And now we got the new boy Clubhouse stepping in. With all that going on social media, man, is this healthy? Did you even know it was like that, Henny? Talk to me. What? That's a lot of
Yeah,
folks,
look,
kid.
it's a lot of folks, and the numbers they aren't as I get it. They're not as staggering as I in my mind, basically because I know we're all so connected, and probably even more now than ever. Those who probably didn't have the opportunity to have cell phone or internet service are having it now provided because pandemic or whatever. So there's even more people out there that need to be connected in a virtual level. I mean, let's talk a little bit deeper about it though. I mean, it's not just about being connected, but what are you subscribing to? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And what are the things that you're looking into? I know that as a professor, dealing with even college students, their thing is like, I can get all the information in the world. Now is it, who do I trust? That's one of the biggest things now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Man, Alicio, talk to me. I mean, Does these numbers surprise you that we're on the phone that much and social media is a part of that?
Yeah, no, it doesn't really surprise me, but like if you there's apps that you can put on your phone that'll tell you like how much screen time you're having, how much time you're spending in certain apps. And even myself, I just sometimes you can lose touch of like, yo, like I spent this much time on this app or that app, and it really is a wake up call. So, and this is with me, like who I feel like I'm somewhat in touch with myself and my family and stuff. But some people out there, they don't care nothing about that type of stuff, right? So
Yeah.
I can definitely see probably the average person spending literally like 4 hours, 4 to 6 hours on their device doing certain things. But then again, you bring in a different demographic. What about people who's seriously using their mobile devices for business and
Right.
connections and
Right.
relationships? So I mean, I could actually see that number being more around maybe 10 hours a day, which is crazy because it just brings a different level of like health for me, like health questions in the mix, like as far as like
Yeah.
your mental state, also your
Hmm.
physical state, because
Hmm.
sometimes if you're not cognizant about it, it could cause other problems. So just put it that way. But no,
For
that
sure.
it really doesn't surprise me. No.
But if you think about it, y'all, I mean, social media wasn't here 10 years ago.
Right.
Where so if it's infiltrated our world that much and it's become part of our daily planet, what part is it fulfilling in that space? You know what I mean? It wasn't here. Things that changed our vernacular. Words like go viral wasn't here. It didn't exist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cyberbullying. It didn't exist 10 years ago.
Right.
Tweets, likes, posting. There's an app for that. None of that stuff was here, man.
Right.
So how did we function before it got here, Henny? What do you think?
I mean, a lot of these things were they were just I don't know. It was for a lot of us, we had to understand that the media controlled everything, right? So
Hmm.
going viral was still a thing, right? Bullying, maybe not cyber, but bullying was still a thing.
Sure.
Having, whether it was a channel for that or, like whether you're watching sports or you're watching, your favorite
Yeah.
HBO, like we still had media, right?
Hmm.
Now we
Hmm.
just have media on demand on, just basically how we want it and how we can search it. What can we think of that we want to entertain ourselves? And
Hmm.
it can definitely affect us in such a way where even if you are doing it for business,
Hmm.
you can be bombarded so easily based off of just the way the algorithm works to cater to have you on that specific platform for a certain amount of time, right? I mean, it's
It's
like
so
it will
true.
keep you like, especially like we talk about last week, right? We talk about the Derek Chauvin trial and
Yeah,
all of
man.
those things, and how we were all glued. I know y'all felt it like I felt it, nervous, just stomach over here tossing and turning, waiting for the verdict and everything like that. And social media was so crazy because it just kept feeding you info, and you were just on TV watching. It was sometimes it can really hook you in, and it can really mess with your anxieties. And
Mm.
it's really crazy to think how far it's come as far as like being able to know how to push your buttons. I don't know, E,
And you
what you think?
you said something perfect before you jump in because you said it's feeding you what you want. It
Mhm.
learns you. The Google algorithm learns you. It's like AI,
Yeah,
right, E?
yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Like AI. Like we have. I can't say her name because she's right here, but you know, Alexa
It's
in
all
the
good.
house.
It's all good.
Oh, she still hears you when you whisper, but yeah, they do learn you. Like my son, he's 2, and he and what can like she didn't understand him the first couple of times, but
Hmm.
they built Alexa to learn voices and learn
Hmm.
your
Right.
your tonality and everything. So now he can go up to her and say Alexa, and he ain't even saying her name, but now she understands him, right?
Wow.
So I mean, it's crazy, and we're like, you can't even say it right. How does she know? But they built them to understand that, but going back to one of your earlier points, man, as it relates to you say, how did they function without social media? I know Henny can relate to this. I remember it was 2002, right? When I learned how to email beats to artists. It was 2002.
Wow.
Now before that, and I'm maybe I was late in the game on that, but from everybody on my side of the world, I was actually one of the first doing it, right? And I remember sitting back
Too, for
like
sure. Yeah.
I remember sitting back like, yo, this is a game changer because I remember how much work I put in going out to clubs and places I didn't want to get to hand artists beats, like beat CDs and stuff like that, beat tapes even and stuff like that. It was crazy. But so I mean, I say that to say that we have to take the good with the bad, because it brings you a certain level of like exposure, right? That we have to be responsible about. But I remember another example when MySpace hit, and we're able to put like 5 or 6 songs on our profile. So I mean,
MySpace.
yeah, so and you know, going back thinking about it, me and my homeboys, we would hit the town passing out CDs all day, hundreds of CDs, right? Versus just post a song on our MySpace and it starts getting traction, and now we're getting booked, and we didn't do nothing but literally just hit enter, right, and upload. So I
Yeah,
said all
man.
that to say it's good with it too, but I think, to my earlier point, not everybody is self-aware enough to know like where's that line at, when is it getting counterproductive, and when is it getting unhealthy. So absolutely.
Yeah, I think you guys are both hitting on the head that it does have its positives. We have seen advancements in how we use the technology itself, but just like Henny said, and like you're saying, sometimes you don't realize how much you're using it. You don't have a cutoff. It's almost like an addiction. Like you didn't realize you had it until, like if I lose my phone for a day, I'm shuddering. Like, where's my phone at? Like I can't. Tell me, I'm
Your
searching for
heart
my
drops.
phone, right?
Your
You're,
heart
you're like,
drops, right? If
you're
you reach
tripping because you.
if you reach in your back
I
pocket and don't feel your phone,
oh
oh man,
Oh
man,
man, you going back
you
home
trip
to
out
get
more
it.
than if you lost your wallet. You'd be like, wait, my phone.
Wait,
so
you
You'd be like,
know, you, you can lose your wallet. You're like, I'm okay, but my phone, hold
yeah,
on. You'll turn back
lose that
around the
phone.
crib and go back and get that phone. You know what I'm
Man,
saying?
sure.
that's last time I felt that type of pain. I was like in 10th grade getting dumped by my girlfriend. That type of
There
pain.
you go.
Oh,
That's
And see,
tragic.
here's another fact. So businesses now recognize how addicted we are to social media. So they've
Right.
created new jobs within the industry to manage social media accounts. There's a new job, social media manager. What? Who is
Yeah.
that? That's the guy managing how he feeds you about everything else that's being marketed to. Talk to me about that, Henny. Social media manager. Talk to me about that.
I think that it's one of two ways, right? Because you have the social media manager for all these companies, right? And depending on how that person speaks around social media, as it relates to their company and as it relates to things going on in the world, we can see it can completely backfire. What it was, who was that? I saw a tweet as soon as the verdict was in, and who was it? I think it was the Las Vegas football team, something. And they were like, I can finally breathe or something. It was so ridiculous, right? So they're probably the social media manager, put out this tweet thinking that it was helping the cause. Like, I can finally now breathe or something to that degree, right? And it's like, whoa, nah, that ain't it. That ain't it. And then now your whole brand is being judged by that manager. You see what I'm saying? Who doesn't have the vision of the company, who doesn't know what's happening with the company. So it's like you're giving a lot of power to these social media managers. Oh no. And the way
It's
that they
true.
the way that they can zoom in and really, help the algorithm as it relates to feeding you, it's good or bad, right? Like right now, we just have this update with iOS where it's like 14.5, and now Apple's giving you the right to say, do you want this company to track you or do you not?
Right.
And there's a
Right.
case for both. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
E, what do you think?
social media managers. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's their
That
job to manage the data to you. Think about that. It's their
I don't
job
know.
to manage that.
I don't know, because I know a few of them. I don't know if they look at their job that deep though. I think a lot of them who I know personally, they look at their job as just to keep a healthy regiment of content up for whatever business that they are, helping out. However, on a higher level, from the social media managers, actually like the social media platforms and their partnerships and their of course they're like not sponsors, but like they're partners with the brands. Now they definitely absolutely have a responsibility to basically figure you out, right, and market to you, and like your every step. I think on a different, not different topic, but as far as like social media management, as far as like how they're tracking us, and man, these phones. I remember I was in the house, right? Like, how often do you run out of aluminum foil? Like, think about that. Think about, I mean, twice a year, right? So I've never seen on Instagram. I've never seen a ad for aluminum foil on Instagram in my life. I'm in there talking to my wife. She's like, babe, go pick up some aluminum foil. I'm like, cool, gotcha. Bam. By the time I get to the dollar store, there's an ad on my
Yeah.
Instagram. I'm scrolling and it's aluminum foil ad. And I said, I
Yeah.
screenshot. I said, babe, look at this. This is crazy. You know what I'm saying? So like on a
Yeah.
deeper level, I don't think it's necessary the social media managers, but the platforms itself, they know what they're doing, man. Like
Totally.
I was telling my wife, I think the suggestive selling, how they're going, where they're going with this thing, and how they have it pinpoint down to like your geographic location and different things like that. I would not put it past us that we'll be driving in the car one day and we're all looking at a billboard. You see a billboard, right? Digital billboards that based off what our Google searches are, based off what we've been looking up, Henny might see that same billboard. It's a different ad for him though. And I look at that
Wow.
For
same
sure.
billboard and it's a different
For
ad for
sure.
me
That's
based off
serious,
my,
bro.
you know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
That's
crazy.
serious.
So
That's serious.
yeah.
That's serious. And when you think about the job had to be created because companies are saying, well, if I got to reach my customer used to get it in a newspaper ad. We used to know,
Right.
used to put it in the ad, would went to that certain geographic area, you knew they would find you. Then they used to get it on TV. I'd watch a certain commercial,
Yeah.
watch a certain show. They'd find me here. But now they know everybody's face is here. Even when they're watching their programs, they're not even watching it
Yeah.
from a phone or an iPad. They're not even watching on a regular TV anymore. So they're like, I got to
Right.
push it here. So those social media managers are taking the brands and making sure that you're seen in every device that they are able to get them to. That creeps me out a little bit, but that's what they got to do, right? Because that's where we are.
And that's
Absolutely.
the thing, right? I mean, the biggest thing for me is, and one of the reasons I completely pivoted to this whole mobile uh, professional lifestyle is thinking of my children, right? Because I'm like, me and my wife go back and forth a lot about, how much, you know, how much is too much on the on the internet with YouTube, with all these things. My son is 11, my daughter is 7, and my son has had an iPad in his hand since he was 1, his own iPad, and now I don't know if he's, I would say addicted, but I mean, he definitely knows how to maneuver around the internet very well. He's a gamer. He does all of the things that I like to see, but then there's so many dark places of the web that you can go so easily now. When we were first seeing, the internet and the things that you could do and the things you could get into on the internet, it was small back then, 10, 15 years ago. Now we're looking at stuff and we're seeing, okay, all right. Um, how much of this will it control them and how much of it won't, because they they know the traps already. You see what I'm saying? Like, you teach a kid how to catch a football one-handed his entire life, and then he's like, "Oh, now I can catch with two hands." You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
give them enough information, and hopefully you give them the right, morals, values, belief in God, all of these things, and then they can make better decisions as it relates to, being out in those interwebs, in the streets. The streets are now the internet.
The
You see what
cyber
I'm saying?
streets. It's the
Yeah,
cyber
cyber
streets, y'all.
streets.
Wow. E, what do you think? Talk to me about that.
Man, we kind of went a few different places. What was the actual
Yeah.
question or the
Well,
prompt? Go ahead.
because
I
let
got
me circle back around this way. Let me do this. I'm gonna shock y'all. I'm gonna give you one name, and then I want you to tell me how that person used social media, either positive or negative. And I'm gonna go down the line. I'm gonna give you a couple of them. Donald Trump. How did he use social media? How did he use it to affect us? E?
See, I'm weird though. You can't ask me that type of question because the reason why I say that, and there's a clear answer, but I don't want to say like I'm playing devil's advocate. But the reason why I say that is because we need the good with the bad, right? We need the questionable with the not questionable. And the reason why I say that is because if you think about it, the questionable stuff or the bad stuff, it helps us learn what we need to learn to make
Yeah.
it better. So
True.
without that, I would never know to tell my daughter that's 7 years old, hey, don't go here or don't do that, or here's how you get off of that, or here's how you do that. And just real quick, I'm gonna answer your question, but
Yeah.
a big thing that comes to mind is Lil Nas X, right? He comes out with Old Town Road, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything's great. Love the song. I love what he did. I love
Mm-hmm.
everything he did about that song. But now he's giving lap dances to the devil. So now how how do we maneuver that now?
Wow.
When we
That's
told
the
Yeah.
power, right?
when we pretty much okayed our children to listen to this artist for
Yeah.
like a year, and he
Right.
pulls a switcheroo on us. So
Yeah.
when you go back to like Donald Trump, I can't say good or bad. I mean, he did what he was supposed to do, and so I mean, I would honestly, if
For
I would
himself.
be leaning toward one, I would say good. To be honest with you, I would
Well,
say
I won't
good
say. I
because
don't think it said be good or bad. It just did he
okay,
use the?
okay,
Did he? How did he use social media?
oh, good, oh, absolutely. If
Very,
that's the
very
question, then
effectively. Very effectively.
absolutely.
Yeah.
What about you, Henny? What do you think, Donald Trump?
Yeah. Yeah, he used it very effectively. And, he made change in this world because of the things that he either tweeted or talked about or, whatever. And for like he said, good or bad, like it brought us to a more realer state that we're in 2021. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's bringing all the negativity to the forefront that's to allowing us to show others and for them to actually want to listen. You know what I'm
True
saying?
that.
So
True that.
yeah.
I think when I think Donald Trump, I think he was one that used the power of social media to sway and influence culture, influence the nation to believe what he wanted to believe. He said certain things that were true, that were not true, and he said it enough times on social media that
Yeah.
people started to believe. I mean, that's the power of those 260 words, 260 syllables, or 260 letters
Yeah,
that you can put on
Yeah.
a tweet now. I mean, think about how powerful that is, y'all. Seriously, that's some seriously powerful stuff when you can type a couple of sentences and it goes across the world and changes
Yeah.
a view. That's
Instantly.
some serious power with social media. That's
I
where I
think
want to
with Donald,
go. Go
one
ahead.
thing with Donald Trump that I can appreciate, right, is he's like, people like, I don't want to go that way, but I'll say this. I love how when he came out with the fake news thing, right? The reason
Fake
why I
news.
love
Yeah.
that, the reason why I love that is because we all knew that the media, they sways people minds and stuff. But when he came
Right.
out
Every
with
day.
those two words, it was like, oh, it really put it in even in my life. Like, you're right, man. The president out here saying that there's fake news, like, and it really just comes down to that. Like, it really is fake news. So kind of like what we all are saying, I think we got to take the good with the bad, and also to understand that um change agent, whenever you have a change agent, right, industry disruptor or a media disruptor, they're never really understood in the time that they're living in. They're not understood till they're dead and gone, right? So it's like, we can say one thing about them now, but in 30, 40, 50 years, when he's gone, he might, and the way depending on how the world turns out, he may have been kind of prophetic in a sense. So it's like it's hard to appreciate change agents and disruptors while they're here and while we're living in the moment. So I'll just say he was, like Henny said, he was definitely very effective and efficient in what he was doing.
Well spoken. Well spoken. Let me give you another name then. How about Kardashian? How did they use
Oh,
social media? Come on, Henny, you go first. Give
Highly,
it to me.
highly
Give it to
effective.
me.
Highly effective. I mean,
just
they had
as Ray J.
the family had a great viral moment. It might have been, and they saw this as an opportunity to control the narrative, and that's kind of what goes back to what you was saying as far as like, the disruptors, right? Like if you have the ability to control the narrative of whatever is happening, and you have enough people listening to you, and you keep saying it over and over again, people are going to believe that is the gospel. I think that's just how the world is brought up. From the beginning of time, it's just more and more people say the same thing, regardless if it was true or not. Right. So the Kardashians, they built, a viral moment and turned it into a business, which turned it into multiple businesses that turned it to generational wealth. So how could it not be effective? I mean, now,
Right. How
hey,
can you argue they used it, man? And now they are ridiculously
yeah,
wealthy. You know.
Listen,
You,
and I think what we all have to understand, and anybody from that viral moment, it didn't have to go that way. They didn't
it
have to
didn't.
right,
blow up
Yeah.
from that. There's
Yeah.
yeah,
tons of people who go viral every year, and they don't make nothing of it. So for them to
True.
yeah,
sit down and seize the moment, grab the momentum, the leverage, and to build everything that they built from that is insane. Hats off.
They built an
Yeah,
empire off
yeah,
that
I think
moment,
I think
y'all.
I seen something that they get paid like $2 million a tweet or something. It's crazy
Dude,
for like
yeah,
it's
for like a
ridiculous.
brand. That's
They
crazy.
are a brand. Come on, y'all. They built a brand empire off social media, off that viral moment. You're right. So,
Yeah,
good or bad, it's still present, right?
yeah.
One more. Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift. Give me one Taylor Swift. Henny?
Yeah, I mean, I think all these people, when you built up enough celebrity, when you build up enough, following, regardless if it's online or just in the world, you have the ability to use any platform, to your disposal. Like, say, take for instance Taylor Swift, and her situation now, where she's in a situation with her label. She wants the rights and the masters to her, original songs and the first album and all of that. Now she's going back and re-recording that whole album again. So she's taking it to social media and saying, "Listen, I'm going to re-record that whole album. Don't buy that other one. Don't buy the original. Buy the one that I'm going to make." And just it shows you the power that you can have when you have a platform. It shows you the things that you can do when you have leverage, all of those things, and Taylor Swift is just another one who's taking it and making it work for herself.
Man.
Yeah.
E, what do you
Yeah,
think?
Taylor, she didn't start out that way. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
She started out more of letting the machine do everything. But then I
Mm-hmm.
Right.
believe when she really understood the power, now she presses buttons. You know what I'm saying? Now
Mm-hmm.
she pulls the trigger, and now she knows how
Mm-hmm.
to start that ripple effect, that butterfly effect that she wants, pretty much at
Mm-hmm.
will. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
anything she gets behind, people gonna get behind.
People
So
gonna get
Yeah.
yeah,
behind.
yeah,
Exactly.
exactly,
Exactly.
man. So and she's super talented. So hey, it
Yeah,
is
oh
what it
yeah,
is.
no doubt.
Yeah.
I'm a Swifty. I got mad love for you, Taylor, out there. Check you out. I got you. I support you. I support you. I do. It's all good. It's all good. So here's another thing. We'll go. We talked about positive effects and negative effects of social media. Here's a couple of positive effects, and I want to bring back just one small tidbit that we didn't talk about, which was why Facebook was even created. It was created at Harvard to be able to connect
Mhm.
the students to be able to communicate back and forth. And that sucker
Right.
took off. Zuckerberg was like, "Oh, this is some serious stuff. I see some dollar signs here." So he took this thing
Yeah.
big, and now we're looking at 2 billion people. And it all started off just being able to communicate. So speaking of communication, some positive effects of social media would be communicating, stay up to date with friends, family, finding new friends, communities, networking, join and promote worthwhile causes. A lot of Facebook causes out there. Raise awareness. Find vital social connections. If you live in a remote area that you don't have anybody around, you can create friends on Facebook or on social media. Discover sources of information and creativity and self-expression. But then we have negative effects, which would be maybe FOMO, fear of missing out,
Yep.
inadequacy about your own life or appearance, feeling like you checking somebody else out, comparing all the time, like you don't feel like you're who you're supposed to be. Isolation, depression, anxiety, self-absorption. When you hear those both sides of the scale, so to speak, where do you think most people fall, Henny? Positive or
Yeah.
negative?
Um, I, I would say negative. I know that, for me, I've definitely had my share of, just FOMO. I had my share of feeling, copycat syndrome. You're watching all of these things. You're watching people. You're seeing what's happening. You're seeing everybody's highlight reels, and you just don't even know how that affects you. Seeing, what happens to your community. You're seeing what's happening to the world. So the negative things are always going to be pushed harder because it hits harder all the time.
Mm.
A lot of wins, we'll see the big wins and we'll clap for people, but we'll be glued when something bad happens.
Mm.
We're just naturally, made that way. And I just had, as I look more into like more of a minimalist lifestyle and the way that I want to go about protecting my mental health is, it's just taking all of my notifications off unless it's a phone call, unless it's a text message. And even
Mm.
with my text message and my phone calls, I have to have you locked in my phone, or it's either going to be blocked or silenced. So
Yes,
you
sir.
have to protect yourself um from these situations. I know it's great to, see that notification bubble pop up or that DM pop up on any of your best social media platforms. But man, I'm telling you, like, when you don't see it or when you expect to see it, or those moments, you're over here frustrated, and that builds, and if that
Yeah,
happens at
man.
the beginning of a day,
Yeah.
and then it just piles on, you're just going to have more and more of that happen to you, where, I mean, you're just going to end up feeling like it was a crappy day. I don't know.
Wow. So true. So, E, what
Yeah.
about you? Positive or negative? How's
Yeah.
it ring for you?
Oh, I'm leaning toward the negative. Absolutely. For the average person, you know what I'm saying? The average
Mm,
person doesn't have that, the totality of the mental state that they need. An average
mhm,
person
mhm,
doesn't have that self-awareness, you know what I'm saying? So I mean, even I'm pretty sure with you guys, is you fall into these habits and trends where you have to pull it back, like I'm pretty sure most people who are self-aware on the internet, they like Henny said, they unplug and they take like
mhm,
digital fast and social media fast. You have to, what I'm saying, you
mhm,
literally have to take breaks. And I got to the point where I was like, I used to get up in the morning, right, and like the first thing I did, I can't even believe I started doing this mess, but the first thing I would do is grab my phone and check my notifications and see what's going on. And kind of like Henny said, when you start your day like that, it's like, man, I think I read something that said that literally neuroscientists did like a study on like the notifications, and it's like literally like a dopamine kick. Like
mhm.
it's comparable to like a hit of your favorite drug. Just
Wow.
checking a notification. You know what I'm saying? It's like subconsciously, if we're not aware of that, then we'll just constantly getting these dopamine kicks all day, every day. We're kind of
Mm,
high. We're high on social
Yeah,
media, and we're
mm,
high
yeah,
on the idea of vanity metrics, and because you got to remember, on social media, people show you the best of them. That's it. They
right.
don't,
right,
for the
Right.
most part, they don't come on the internet to show you the worst of them or what's really happening. They show you the best of them. So now, like you said, you're comparing yourself, your day
Mhm,
one, to somebody else's day 20. You know what I'm saying? Or
mhm,
year
mhm.
20. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that yeah, for most people it's a negative thing. So that's why when I'm on social media, I try my best to be transparent, and I try my best to, when I see like myself and even other creators, I can kind of tell there's something there, I kind of step in and just try to be that contrast to what they normally see. So I'm that friend that's gonna be like, hey bro, you know what I'm saying,
Right.
tighten up, or chill out, or
Yeah.
unplug, or get
Right.
Yes.
focused. I'm that guy. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
And see, I appreciate where your heart is, and I know Henny's is the same. And when I think about how often we're all on our devices, and we're on part of it because it's what we do for work, it's part of our job.
Right.
All three of us use social media as part of our platforms and what we do and what we say. So
Right.
where is the line, or how do we balance out? Like Henny, your YouTube subscription is ridiculous. I mean, your subscribers are all over the place. Like when I see you post something, you're one of the few notifications I let through because I got all the
Yeah.
subscribed. I'm like, I
Yeah.
can't listen to everybody. So if yours come through, I actually stop what I'm doing, see what it is, save it to
Yeah.
watch it later, or if I got time, I watch it. That's
Right. Right.
power in itself
Yeah.
because that means that
True.
you know that that person wants to hear what you have to say, and they're willing
Hmm.
to either listen to what you're selling, quote unquote, or that your opinion has value, or they're willing to stop their
Right.
day. You know what I'm saying? Come
Yeah.
on now. So
Yeah.
so I'm hearing both of y'all say how do we balance that out? How do we take what we do as a living and not let it overdo us? Henny?
I think that, the first thing is um you got to think of your life in a full spectrum. It can't just be all work all the time. You got to find balance in your life. We preach that in this house day in and day out. It's about having peace. And your peace comes from just sometimes just being still and not even reflecting or trying to focus on just get it done, work, 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 grind, 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 hustle, 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 and then family, family, family when you got the time. It needs to be define balance. You have to have perspective on what it is that you're after. So if you're starting, say for instance, a YouTube channel, or you're starting a blog or a podcast, like we're talking about, we're trying to run comparison against those who have been at it for years upon years. Yeah, that's going to soak into your spirit. But if you give yourself the mentality to say, I want this to be something that I love to do for years, so let me give myself 10 years to figure this thing out. whatever it is, you got to give yourself enough time to know and go back to that life. Listen, man, you're only on 6 months of this 10-year process. Chill. You all right, right? Like, be at the same time, you can tell yourself that, as I'm doing this, I got to stay healthy. So I'm here to be able to make it at least those 10 years, right? Or, I got to make sure that I have family and friends, because when I get to where I want to go, who am I going to celebrate it with? Who am I going to share that with? So
Man.
all of these things are going to create balance in your life if you have perspective on the things that you really want to get out from doing these things that we're into. So if we're doing this and our career is based off being on social media, and we're trying to build this up, and we're trying to keep a business flowing, you still got to keep yourself afloat and keep your peace there. So yeah,
Yes,
that's my
receive
message.
that, receive that. E, what about you? How's it balanced for you being part of social media and having to pull back at the same time?
It's kind of like you know what they tell like a drug addict. Like the first step to realizing you have a problem or fixing a problem is realizing you have a problem, right? Like
True.
for me, yeah, I just be real with myself and just realize sometimes like for me, I'm big on vibes. Like shout out to Henny, secure the vibe, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm big on vibes. I'm quick to check myself. Like why I tell people all the time that your emotions, right? They're not they're only basically indicators, right? Your emotions are only indicators of something deeper, right? So with me, when I'm feeling a certain emotion, I ask myself, why do I feel that emotion? Why do I feel that anxiety or that anger or that frustration? Why do I feel that? And a lot of times, to be honest with you, it's tied back to something I saw on the freaking social media. It's
Wow,
9 times out
wow.
of 10, it's like, okay, I saw that. Now I'm feeling I got to get this project out, or I got to meet this deadline, or I got to do this, or I got to get, oh, he's here. I got to get that. It's like 9 times out of 10, because we're so engulfed in social media, a lot of times certain triggers and certain emotions that we feel are triggered from social media. So I said all that to say, I just be real with myself. When I feel a certain way, I know, oh, okay, yeah, it's time to pull back, right? And I'm just blessed also with a wife, right? She's so like amazing. A lot of times, as men, we can be needy, right? So like when it's time to relax and talk to your wife, you're like,
Us
oh
needy?
now you notice me, now you want to talk to me. That's her big thing. It's like, babe, get over here. You know what I'm saying? But all jokes aside, it's like, she helps keep me balanced because a lot of
Yes.
times I can be like in the kitchen, right? Or whatever. And I'm on my phone. I'm literally like this. And I can just feel my wife like grilling me, like, how long are you gonna stare at that phone? And then I just put my phone out and I like, okay, let me put my phone in my back pocket and let me be present. And I think that is
Right.
so huge. Like we have to learn how to be present again. Like
Ah,
we're not on the grid yet, but sometimes we live like we're on this grid. Like we live like we're in the, what is it? I never
the
seen this series.
Matrix.
I know The Matrix. I never
We're in the
seen that. I want
Matrix.
to see it. But
You
sometimes
haven't
we
seen
live
the
like we're in a
Matrix?
matrix.
Come on.
I've never seen it, bro. I never seen it. I gotta see it.
Ah,
I gotta see it.
oh,
I
Yeah.
know I,
Joe.
I know it's about people like living in the grid and stuff, right?
You
Is that what
gotta
it
see
is?
the Matrix. It'll
Yeah.
it'll it'll change your life.
It
Yeah.
will. It will.
But we
I
but
promise you.
It'll
sometimes we
change your
live
life.
like that and we're not even
Yeah,
there yet. Like why do we want to rush
yeah,
to that type of life when we can actually be present now? We don't have to be a digital, like you hear about
yeah.
NFTs and
That's true.
cryptocurrency. Well, I believe that we're going to be crypto humans soon. Like it's coming.
I feel you.
But
Yeah, yeah.
until we
Yeah.
get there, let's not rush to be a crypto humans. Let's be present humans in the moment and live now. So I'm real big on living in the moment right now. One of my biggest sayings is depression is living in the past and anxiety is living in the future, right? So if you're
Mm.
depressed or are anxious about anything, it's time for you to step back and live in the moment, and then that way
Yes.
you can gain clarity, right? So yeah.
Love that.
Oh man, y'all
Love that.
y'all both speaking wisdom to me today, and the crazy thing is that's what my channel's all about. It's called Beautiful Now. My whole
Yeah.
point of doing what I do is to get people to say, look, man, tomorrow's not here. Yesterday is gone. And the now moment that you have is the most beautiful you will ever have if you take advantage of it right now. We're
Look
so
at that,
concerned about
beautiful
all this other
now.
stuff. This is
Look,
it.
Come on.
I didn't even notice that. Beautiful now.
That's
Look at that.
that's what my
Yes.
channel's about, man. That's what this whole thing's about, and that's what my message from my channel is about. It's just trying to let people know, man, you gotta live it. This just like you said, E. You gotta live it right this moment. We're so wrapped
Love it.
up with stuff that ain't here, or stuff that was here, or somebody else's stuff. What about our now? How good is it
Right.
to be living right now? Now is an amazing time on the planet.
But
There's
you
so
know,
much going on. Go ahead.
No, it's really sad for me is I've had so many amazing milestones happen in my life, right? Amazing milestones of very memorable things that have happened, and I didn't live in the moment. And now that I look back later, I said to myself, man, that happened. Why didn't I celebrate that? Or why didn't I marvel in that? And it's not even about, like, you know how some people say like they're being lazy and they're just like, like what's his name? Al Bundy. Back in my day, like it's not about like
You went to
rejoicing.
Bundy.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not about that because some people can't celebrate too long. Like, get up, bro. That was like,
Right,
but it's
right,
still
right.
celebrate. And sometimes I look back, like, and I'd be like, man, like, like, let me ask you, like, real quick. You did win a Grammy, right? Um,
Mhm.
Kenny.
Henny. Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
like thinking about that moment. That, like, for me, that would have been like a moment, like a really, like, do you feel like you lived in that moment when you got that Grammy?
I had to. I'm gonna tell y'all, it's weird to think like, you know, that was what, almost 10 years ago, and
Wow.
Yeah.
um, it was a moment where I had my best friend with me, and we were just chilling in LA during Grammy week. But I wasn't a part of the Recording Academy like I am now, so I didn't know what events to go to. I didn't know anything about it. So we didn't have tickets to the Grammys. It was just like, oh, you're Grammy nominated. Okay, your album's, you're part of a Grammy nominated album. So hey, just be out there. And we were at Fogo de Chao. I'll never forget the moment that I got the text from one of my friends who was just always fast as hell with the text. And it was just like, you won. And I'm sitting there like, what? What? Yeah, and so we're sitting there chilling. We have some other people with us, and I had to literally walk to the bathroom with tears starting to run down my eyes because I knew it was a
Wow.
moment that I needed to cherish. And because when you've been at this, you're 32 years old and you've been at it for a while, and you're just trying to figure out like, yo, what does this all mean? We're always looking for those moments to define, what we're doing is right or we're on the right path.
Yeah.
And I remember calling my parents. They were super pumped up. And then I called my wife, and she's here in Atlanta with all of our friends and family. And it was, to see the video of them being hyped back then, and remembering that moment of me in the bathroom, and that's what struck me, of a moment where you lived it, you sunk it in. And for the rest of that weekend, I was just like, this is crazy. Because what is this? It was a testament that God said, you have put in enough time for people to treat you like what you feel like you are, you know?
Wow.
And
Love
so,
that.
um, I was like, all right, bet. I'm a new man in a sense. You know what I mean? Not like cocky or
Yeah.
egotistic,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
but
No.
yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay, what is it? What's next? And from that moment, I was like kind of trying to figure out what was next, because I was like, I accomplished this thing. And even now it's like, um, for people who work on albums, and not necessarily, you're part of an album that won a Grammy, but you might not be considered Grammy award winning because you did not get the trophy. Only the
Right.
artist gets the trophy on those moments, unless you're part of album of the year or record producer or single or whatever. So there's still
Yeah.
like, I still need that thing, but so there's still
Yeah.
more room to grow musically. But at the same time, right? It might give you that confidence in that moment, right? You become married, you become a father, right? We know all of these things that we remember, and we're like, okay, bet. Immediately you're like, okay, I'm a new person. I gotta operate differently if you live in that moment, right? If
Yeah.
you live
Yeah.
in that beautiful now. So I
Yeah.
mean, that's
Yeah.
where I'm
Yeah.
at, and I try my best to do that. And being, I think you can still be intentional when and be in the now when you're online,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I think a lot of people don't realize how they're still living in the future, right? Or living in the past with
Yeah.
their moments on social, right? And then,
Yeah.
you'll be like, damn, they don't comment, they don't reply to nobody, they don't interact with nobody. They just, yeah, I won, and then it's over. Or they'll tell
Yeah.
something about their life, and they don't
Yeah.
engage with the people who are following them. And then they want to figure out what happened when something
Yeah.
goes wrong in their life, and everybody's like, he
Yeah.
wasn't even really interactive with us. So that's kind
Wow.
of
Wow.
like where
Wow.
I'm at with it.
Wow. That's
Wow.
huge. And yeah,
That's
and like I
deep.
said, the only reason I even went that way is because due to social media being so fast paced, it's easy to get caught up in not living in the moment because you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I got my Grammy now. Okay, what's next? What's next? Like, bro, kind of like you said, like let's live in this right now, but
Let's
before
live in
you
it.
just like get on the train and get on back on your vanity metrics.
And
You know what I'm
and both of
saying?
you guys keep saying it, and it's perfect. I want people that are watching this episode to hear: be present in your own life.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you're on social
Yeah.
media, you're present in somebody else's life.
Wow.
Be
Mhm.
present
Wow.
in your life. Put the phone down and be
Yeah.
present where you are, whether it's a
Yeah.
family member or a friend or a job or if it's Henny or E, you guys are making music. You're present in that moment. You're away from this device. My whole
Yeah.
Yeah.
point of talking about this episode was to get people to be present in their planet. We know how powerful this is, but there's got to be a moment where we unplug from that thing and just
Well,
get present.
Yeah.
Just get
here's
now.
a
Go
cheat
ahead, E.
code that I like to say. So many people focus on impressing other people when they don't realize the way to impress other people is to simply impress your family, right?
Yes.
Impress yourself,
Impress
impress
yourself.
your community, right?
Yeah.
And that will have residual effects. That will be a byproduct of impressing the whole world and impressing other people and impressing social media when you can just literally impress your wife, like impress your children, right? Impress
Yes.
your
Yes.
parents. You know what I'm saying? Because that will give you all the confidence, all the validation you need to really go out there, and you'll be like, man, at the end of the day, like, what do people see in me, right? What do people
Right.
really gravitate to me for? And you don't really, because to you, it's not an outward thing when you're impressing your family, but
Right.
they can see that light in you. Like, yo, I want to be like this guy because, man,
There you go.
his family unit is tight, man. He's so well put together. So I tell people all the time, man, if you want to impress other people, start with impressing your family. Absolutely.
I love it. I
No,
love
I'm,
it. I love it.
I'm
Go ahead. What you gonna say, something, Henny?
no, I mean, I was right there with him because at the end of the day, when our day is up, and our number is called, like, it's it's a situation where you need to know that, like, who loved me, like, who truly knew me, who was a really who's a part of life, who, whatever, like the biggest thing now is, like he said, man, like, you have to live in these moments. And another cheat code, like I said before, is to understand your device, because a lot of us want to diet these devices, like, I gotta take it, I gotta put it down, you know what I mean? It's like, I done had that fast food, I done had the sweets too long, I just got to get rid of it for a while. And you slowly start creeping it back in until you're still, just doing it as much as you were in the past, right? So understand,
Yeah.
like, take those moments and say, you know what, okay, instead of 30 days of a social media fast that we see all these people trying to do 30 days of just no notifications coming to your phone, unless it's emergency notifications like text messages and phone calls, right? Or, like, your bank account and your alarm system at the crib, right?
Yes,
Like,
sir. Yes, sir.
um just have it so that you just have to manually check, and you'll realize, like, damn, I'm checking a lot today. Or maybe something like he said, maybe I'm a little bit anxious because I'm looking for something, or maybe I'm a little bit depressed because I'm remembering something, I'm trying to find whatever, right? Like, take these things so that you can live in a way that you can do it all the time, and it becomes more of your lifestyle of saying, I don't have to check it every day, and I don't see my screen popping up, every few seconds with a notification. And, next thing you know, you can control that more than it controls you, because you
Wow.
have to physically say, you know what? Let me check Twitter, see what's going on. Let
Wow.
me check
Well
Instagram, see
spoken.
what's going on. You know, those are have those tips along with these tips. Maybe we can get some
Yeah.
more positive mental
Yeah.
health
No,
with what's going on.
Yes.
basically, kind of like
Yes,
what Henny
sir.
was saying is take technology, right? And leverage technology to your benefit. Sometimes
Yes.
Yes.
use technology against itself, because they have apps where you have to like put a like figure a puzzle out or solve a problem before it
Yeah.
even let
Yeah.
you in the app. So trust me,
Yeah.
if you got to sit
Yeah.
there and solve a times table problem before Facebook open up, you'll be like, hold on, man. Let me, like, I'm doing it way too much. So, like, I love what Henny said, because it's like, let's leverage technology against itself to
Yeah.
protect our mind, right? And we can easily
Yes.
do that because there's an app, literally an app for everything. So if
For
you're like, man, I
everything.
wonder, can I get something for this to help me with this time management or productivity or memory skills? Like, there's an app that'll help you. So I love what Henny said, because like, use
Yeah.
technology to leverage it for you instead of for it.
Yes. I love it. I love it. I love it. We have talked for almost an hour, Jen. So I'm going to close this because I hate to keep your time away from your
Hey, it's
fam, and
all
I like to
good.
take you down to a space.
Yeah.
But I do want to end it with a question that is probably the most important, not the most important, but pretty serious, pretty sensitive. And I think you guys will all agree how social media has brought us the times of the camera, like George Floyd,
Wow.
Ahmaud Arbery, Black Lives Movement. If we wouldn't have had social media in those times to get the word out,
Man.
things would have been different. We might not have got Derek Chauvin
Yeah.
if we wouldn't
Yeah.
have had that film footage from that
For
camera
sure.
that went viral.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
in those times, in those places, social media has been a partner for us. It's been something it's been a partner to the African American community for sure.
Yeah.
It has really brought us
Well,
some peace of mind, some safety. What do you get, Henny?
I
I was gonna
literally,
say, go ahead. E.
Go
yeah,
E?
I literally just did a panel on this, and I
Okay.
said the same thing. I said I know for a fact, without a doubt, if we didn't have the video footage of what we had of him screaming for his life, it would have been a totally different outcome. I think we all
Mm-hmm.
can agree on that, right?
Oh yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
what happened to him, the knee on the neck it's happening right now. Unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
it's literally
Yeah.
happening right now to somebody across America. So it was nothing new. And so I said being put on a public display helped us get that victory, or somewhat of a victory, because it wasn't a victory. But what's funny is one of my friends was saying, he said, if you think about it, back in the day, they actually made a spectacle of lynching black people.
Mm-hmm.
It would be
Mm-hmm.
a fair, it would be a
Yeah.
fanfare,
Yeah.
it would be a actual event. Like the word picnic came from pick a nigga, because they would
Yeah.
actually
Come on
eat
now.
and stuff while they went to. So it's like, if we think about it, even it being on social media and people seeing it, that's not even the first time. It's years and decades of seeing black people being murdered in America.
Wow.
So can we really even say that what got us the conviction? I'm almost willing to say not even that at this point.
Wow.
So
Well,
I
I mean,
think,
it's just things cycle over and over, right? Every 80 years, it's going to be the same things happening again, and we look at things now, and it's like, yes, I mean, you know, had had she might add a blur of your phone, would that have made a difference in the verdict? Like the fact that we have the technology to do things is opening up more eyes, and that's like what I said in the beginning of this chat, is the fact that we can get everything. We can get all the answers, the fake news, the real stuff. Sometimes we don't even know the difference, right? Now it's not like, now it's more so like, okay, who do we trust and who do we subscribe to? And I'm not even talking
yeah,
about from a social media standpoint, but just
yeah,
whose mind states, whose ways of life, whose things that we're doing. It's like, take a look at what you want out of your life and find
yeah,
those out there who look like you, or you aspire to be, or who those types of things. You subscribe to them, you're going to keep your mental health going. And yes, you're going to look at other things from other places, but from the standpoint of technology, we're only getting better with being able to capture these moments. But I mean, it's like you said,
yeah,
it's been going on for so long. It's just another
yeah.
Wow.
wake up call.
I,
It's
Wow.
I,
just
Wow.
another wake up call. The big
yeah,
thing is, if they wouldn't have had the verdict that was what it was, where would we be at right now this week?
mm, mm,
That's what I was anxious about, right? Anxious
yeah,
is in the future, right? So
exactly, exactly.
I was sitting there like, please, Lord, no, let's
Yes,
just have it go. Because I
yes,
know, all of us living in urban cities, we would be
yes.
like, we're gonna tear our whole place, we're gonna tear our city down.
Our own.
Yes, our own city every single time. And I'm just glad that we have that, and maybe we can get enough. It's just a process, right? Why does it take so long to get to this? It's almost a year now.
Wow.
Why can't we speed up these processes so that we can get to a place where it can feel like momentum? You know what I mean? Like conviction, conviction, conviction. We're
Yeah,
like, where's the next one? We need another one. Come on.
yeah, yeah,
So
exactly.
Well,
Yeah,
I appreciate just the dialogue we've had tonight, and my heart goes out, of course, to all those who have suffered the endless violence that we've suffered in the street from African Americans being their lives being taken unjustly,
yeah,
and just I'm gonna say that if you're enjoying this episode right now, I'm going to be having another episode after this the following week with talking about the Derek Chauvin murder and the verdict. And the title of that episode is What's Next? Because I know a lot of us have asked the question, so yeah, we got this verdict, it was great, but what now? Is there something that can happen after this? Is there real momentum going to happen? Is there change that's going to happen now? What do we really see as an African American community is going to happen from this? There's some deeper questions now. Even though we got one, there's so much more injustice left untaken care of. So where do we go as a people with that? And that's the question I'm going to dive into with a pastor friend of mine and an actual law enforcement officer is going to talk about what is coming from the other side, from behind the badge. So look forward to seeing that episode. Check it out when you can. And last but not least, I thank my guest here, Mr. Henny, the business, and Alicio Way, two of the best in the industry, doing it out there for African Americans, making us Black creators look good and spreading positivity all the time. Sure do appreciate y'all. And just thanks everybody for watching. I hope that you've heard yourself in the conversation. And if nothing else, at the end of it, I want you to challenge yourself with social media now. You've heard pros and cons. You've heard good and bad. You've heard many people use it a certain way. You've heard how it's changing lives daily. This is a power that's going to be here for a while. So either you can use it for you, as Henny and Alicio said, you can leverage it, or it can go against you. Take over your own mind, mess up your household, mess up your life, man. So take what we said to heart today. Listen to it a little bit more. Replay it if you have to. But let's challenge ourselves to use this thing responsibly. Right, gentlemen?
Definitely.
Absolutely. Love it. Love it.
I appreciate you. And everybody out there, we look forward to seeing you again at the Beautiful Now podcast. If you enjoy what you see here, please leave me with a like and a subscribe to the channel. Let's get the most updated